Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Next Door Aquatics. It's been a while since I've done a fish room tour. Things are getting cold outside, so it's reminded me that, yeah, it's been a minute, and some things have changed. Alright folks, so welcome back, and just if you haven't seen my previous fish room tour, I have a basement fish room. There's tanks along this wall that will go over, tanks over here that will go over, and a tank over here that will go over in just a minute. First tank is here on the bottom, and this is my quarantine tank. It currently only has 3. The glare's pretty bad there, but 3 giant Danios. There were 6. I lost a few. There's also some mystery snails in this tank. So when there aren't any fish in this tank, the mystery snails just kind of help keep the nitrogen cycle going, producing a little bit of waste. So this is where I quarantine all new fish that I get into the fish room so that I don't spread disease from my display tanks or into my display tank. So above that is my 29-gallon tank. This tank is much the same as it was in my previous fish room tour, except that I do have a couple of angels in here now. Here these guys are, if I can get it to focus. Pretty decent angels. They're obviously still on the smaller side, but they're getting along well in this tank with these Colombian red and blue tetras that I have. I'm not even sure how many I have. There's quite a few in this tank, and they get along well with the angelfish. There's also some coolie loaches in this tank, and if we see them, I would be surprised. There's also an L32 pleco in here, and I'd be surprised if we could find that either. I don't see him. He's often on the back glass behind that driftwood. I've got some Anubias plants in here and some Amazon swords that aren't doing spectacularly. If you have any tips for Amazon swords, let me know. Other than that, in this tank we have quite a few mystery snails and a couple of black racer nearite snails that may be burrowed into the sand at this time. So that's my 29-gallon tank. So moving on from this rack, I turn the lights off over there. We come over to my 40 breeder tank here, and actually this tank's been like this for a long time. It did have a common pleco in it that every time I tried to plant it, common pleco tears up everything and obviously produces a ton of waste also. So I was never really able to do much with this tank without it getting destroyed. So I will be redoing this tank in the very near future. I'll probably put a video out about that. I'm going to try to get this planted. Like I said, I removed the common pleco that we'll see later now in a 75. This tank has a lot of the peppered cories. There's a long fin variety and also a regular type peppered cory variety. But they really like this tank, and they're all pretty healthy. There's also a blue ram, German blue ram right there shooting off into the distance. There are cherry barbs here in the center, as well as zebra danios cruising the top of the tank. Zebra danios are really fun fish to watch. There is mystery snails in here, and there is a long fin super red bristlenose pleco back there, usually hiding. And there are a few nearite snails in here somewhere. But this is my 40 breeder. Now if we move next door, I have a heavily planted 20 long. This tank has been established like this for quite a while. Up in the top we have some schooling bloodfin tetras. I like bloodfin tetras. They don't get very big. They're pretty active swimmers. So those are cruising the top. And down below, if we can catch sight of any, are some Cories. There's a mix of Julies and Sturby in this tank. There's some back there. Sorry about the glare on this tank as well. It's probably coming from the next door 40 breeder. And there's also a lemon blue-eyed pleco in this tank. It's usually hiding. I'd be surprised if we were able. Alright, moving on. These 4 tanks right here are all various Betta tanks. The first tank is like a 5-gallon. This Betta I call Red. As you can see, he has a massive tumor on his back. He's been like that for quite a while. He is a very active Betta. Very active, actually the most active Betta I have, except for the female, which we'll see in a minute. And eats a lot of food and seems to be happy here in the little Buddha tank. So that's the Red. Next door, I would say, is my prettiest Betta. He just seems like he's suspended in midair. Here we can get some more footage of this Betta here. But right now this is my pride and joy Betta. I like the color too, the mixture of red and pink. Over here I doubt we'll be able to see it very well. This is one of my blue Bettas. Also very pretty. It's just hard to capture him because he's so dark. So yeah, in this 10-gallon we have cardinal tetras. And they're in here with their female Betta companion. Here she is. She's actually quite large. And just in here with some driftwood and some Anubias. And that's the tank they call. Next to that, we have an empty 10-gallon. Alright, so moving on to the rest of this tour, we'll get into some of the bigger tanks. This is one of the 75s. Sorry, I've got the lights in here mostly turned out except for this tank to minimize the glare. As you can see in this tank we have a large gold severum. This severum's name is Serenity. I got him or her, not sure, when they were about the size of like a silver dollar or something. And as you can see, it's grown massively. Beautiful fish in my opinion. Pretty even tempered for a cichlid, not as aggressive as you might think, but still somewhat aggressive. We have these 2 electric blue Acara. Beautiful fish. Obviously still juveniles, they'll get much bigger. These guys have an even better aggressiveness level than the severum. Less aggressive than the severum. And just beautiful fish. These 2 get along great. They're always swimming with each other. We'll see how that goes when they get older, if it's a male and a female. Wouldn't mind if they breed, but again, with this Hulk Hogan here in the tank, we'll see what happens with that. If that happens, I may have to separate them. This tank doesn't have any plants. There are a couple of plecos in here, almost always on the driftwood. There's a regular bristle nose here, hiding. There's also a calico bristle nose in this tank, typically hiding up here, but I do not see that pleco at the moment, but that one is in here, as well as a whole gang of these emerald green Cories surveying the bottom of the tank. So this is one of my favorite tanks. I love severums. I've always wanted a green severum. Perhaps someday I'll get one, but for now I've got 2 gold severums. This one, Serenity is its name, and we'll check out the next one next door. Alright, to finish out the tour, we're going to say hi to Trudy. Trudy! Say hi to Trudy. We're going to go over to this rack. On the bottom here is my other 75-gallon tank. This tank has a juvenile Oscar, Tiger Oscar. I call him Petty, named after Tom Petty. And he's so far a very mellow Oscar. I know people say they have various personalities. Some are really aggressive, some are really chill. He seems to be on the chill side, but we'll see as what he does when he gets older. He's a voracious eater, as I think most Oscars are. Again, Really cool fish. I like him a lot. Him or her. No offense. We also have another gold severum here, being shy. This one isn't as, doesn't have as many of the red speckles as the other one, but also a beautiful fish that I like very much. And then in the back is the massive common pleco that used to be in my 40 gallon that was tearing it up. So I kept this tank very simple. I wanted a couple hiding spots, but I wanted to keep it simple because it's going to be an Oscar tank for a while. We'll see how the two of them do when they get older, the severum and the Oscar. A lot of people do keep them together. This is a bit of a smaller tank, 75 gallons to keep the two, but they seem to get along fine. We'll see how that goes in the future. But for now, just a very simple setup with a juvenile Oscar, a decent sized gold severum. He's got red eyes. And the common pleco. Alright, so moving on to the last tank we have to talk about is up here. This is the one I recently set up. I made a video about that. I'll try to also link it above and in the description below, one of the two or both. We'll see. This is a 33 long. Right now it has 4 very small geophagus red-headed tapajos. There's the 4 of them, as well as one bigger one that I got at a local fish store. Just a simple setup without plants for the moment. And these fish are pretty cool. They may not look it now, but when they get older, they're just going to have the most beautiful colors. There is a little aggression from this big one onto the smaller ones, but they are cichlids, even if they are a little less aggressive than some cichlids. They still have aggressive tendencies, so. But again, really cool fish. You can start to see the colors coming out on this tapajo. I'm really excited to see these fish grow and color up, and I'm hoping they breed for me in this tank so that I can get some more red-headed tapajos to potentially sell or trade. And we'll see how that goes in the future. I will keep you updated. So there you go. Thank you for watching the video of my fish room here in my basement. I hope you liked and enjoyed what you saw. Please consider leaving a like and a comment. Until next time, be well and happy fish keeping.